In this video, we're going to talk about one of the most common things that you'll experience in a yoga class. There are several different common poses: Tadasana, mountain pose, the seated position that I'm in right now, and a few others that we'll get and you'll have access to in the Yoga Essentials. But one of the primary poses, in fact, the earliest known yoga pose was lotus pose, which is where we fold our heels up into our hip creases. We're not going to work on that in this particular video, especially for beginners. Lotus pose, not where you need to go. Take care of your knees. Please, please, please take care of your knees. That's a great rhyme that you can have in your brain. Your knees carry you everywhere you go. So you want to make sure that you take care of your knees, your feet, your legs, really your entire body, because if you've ever had an injury in the shoulders, knees, hips, things like that, you know that injuries suck, and we want to try to avoid those. In most classes, you're going to start off either in a seated position or child's pose. You might start off standing, but there are a few really important things when it comes to sitting down. For many folks, you might be one of them, this is not comfortable. Sitting with your legs crossed is not a comfortable thing to do. If that's you, if you have really tight hips or really not bad knees, but your knees have injuries, the greatest prop you will ever encounter is your yoga blanket. What you can do with your yoga blanket is you can either have it folded flat. As you fold it, you can maybe fold it in thirds. But the thing you want to make sure you do with your yoga blanket, you'll have the folded edge is what's going to face forward, and then you'll sit onto your blanket. When you sit onto the blanket, it lifts the hips and it makes it easier for you to press your hips into the floor. The way most of us sit every single day is we sit slumped forward. Most of us are slumped forward. As you slump forward, you notice your back presses back, you anteriorly rotated your pelvis, and you're usually sitting there texting or typing on the computer. And so what we're going to do in this seated position is we're going to fight against all of that. The seated position, also known as Sukhasana. So as we're sitting here, the first things first, once you find a comfortable position with the legs crossed, sit up tall. The best way to sit up tall is to press your hips into the mat and reach the crown of the head to the sky. Now what you want to try to avoid is doing the opposite of that anterior rotated pelvis by shifting the pelvis forward and putting posteriorly rotated, I think is what this is. We'll try to stay away from those words. Posteriorly rotated by pointing or by pushing this back. We want to rotate this pelvis forward, reach the chest forward, but we don't want to go too far forward, so we're putting a crazy arch in the spine. We want a neutral spine and a natural curvature in the spine. The other thing you'll notice when you're here is that sometimes your belly hangs over your pants, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Here's what you need to remember. No one is taking your Instagram photo while you're doing this. So as you breathe, let that belly expand. Nothing wrong with that. From sitting up nice and tall, reaching the crown of the head to the sky, bring the hands onto the knees. As you bring the hands onto the knees, notice what can tend to happen to the shoulders. They'll come up by the ears. So relax those shoulders away from the ears. Smile across the collarbones, open up the chest. Reach the crown of the head to the sky. Tuck the chin slightly to the chest to find a long spine. And then what many of us do is we have the head forward. So try to bring that head back so your ears are over your shoulders, which are over your hips. And all you have to do here is breathe. Take a few breaths here. Notice what can happen. Over time, gravity starts to work towards you and you start to slump forward. Your shoulders will round forward. What you want to do instead is fight that. With every inhale you have, lift the chest, lift the crown of the head to the sky, draw the shoulders down and back, press the hips into the floor. As you exhale, feel your belly naturally engage. The more you exhale, once you complete your exhale, you'll feel the belly engage. And that's the beginning of something called Mula Bandha, which we'll work on in another video. But that's a feeling that you need to pay attention to because we'll use that feeling to initiate some other postures later down the line. So going back over this one more time, Sukhasana, find a comfortable seated position, cross the ankles, cross the shins, place a blanket underneath the hips to help you sit up taller, press the hips into the mat, find a long spine, reach the crown of the head to the sky, draw the shoulders down and back, hands on knees, palms down, palms up, or if you're like me and you have gangly arms, maybe the hands into the lap works best for you. Closing the eyes, chin's tucked slightly to the chest, and now all you do here is breathe. If you're not sure if you're pressing the crown of your head to the sky, you can always take your yoga block or your hands, put the hands onto the head, press into the top of the head, and press the crown of the head up to the sky. That will help you find a nice long spine. As always, any questions, let me know. Just press the contact button on the webpage, and you can get in touch with me, and I'll help you out with anything you need.